Assalamualaikum and good greetings. So today I'll be watching a video by Abdaal titled The Mindset Shift That Changed My Life. So I'm interested obviously to know what he will point out as the mindset shift that changed his life, because if it's beneficial and it is that impactful, obviously I want that mindset shift as well. So without further ado, let's watch.
Right, so a few years ago, there was a researcher called Carol Dweck who wanted to see how children coped with challenges. So she gave 10-year-olds problems that were slightly too hard for them. Some of the students tried and failed to solve the problems. They felt their intelligence was being tested, and they failed, and they were absolutely devastated. But there were some students in the group who responded differently. They also tried and failed to solve the problems, but they said shockingly positive things like, "I love a challenge," or "I was hoping this would be informative." Our friend Carol tells us that the difference between the two groups was all down to their mindset, and this is the book Mindset that we're going to be talking about in this episode of Book Club, the series where we distill and discuss lessons from some of my favorite books. So if you're new to the channel, then consider subscribing, lol. So the first key takeaway in the book is about the difference between the two mindsets that she calls the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset is the idea that all of the abilities that we have, things like our intelligence, things like our ability to solve problems, these are all fundamentally innate, and there's not a lot that we can do to change them. Whereas the growth mindset is more of a mindset that everything is a skill, everything can be learned, everything can be improved over time, whether that's our ability to solve problems, or ability to public speak, or ability to do whatever. Now, obviously with all this sort of stuff, there is an element of raw talent. Like there are just some people who are better at singing by default than I am, and that's like kind of annoying. But to be honest, having a growth mindset means that you accept that there is this thing called talent, but you also accept there is a huge kind of room for improvement in almost anything that we put our minds to. And I remember explaining this like growth fixed mindset stuff to a friend of mine when I first read this book. And this was a friend who was struggling to put her hand up in like anatomy dissection sessions at med school to kind of volunteer an answer or ask a question, because she was afraid that she was going to look silly in front of the other people in the group. And she was afraid that the anatomy demonstrator or the teacher who was showing stuff to us would think that she was dumb. And then I kind of talked her through the growth mindset, fixed mindset stuff. And then she sort of rolled her eyes, be like, this is all like, BS, mumbo jumbo and everything. But then a few days later, she said to me that, hey, I actually thought about what you said about the growth mindset thing, and that made me realize that actually, if I put my hand up and I get a question wrong, it's not the end of the world. I can just choose to see it as like a learning opportunity. And she tried it a few times in the anatomy class, and shock horror, no one cared. Like there wasn't a single person in the group who thought she was dumb for answering a question wrong or for asking a question in class. And in fact, she learned a lot more by having more of a growth mindset approach to life. Key point number 2 that she talks about that I find really helpful is the idea of how much we value effort. Now, in society, and especially amongst people with a fixed mindset, there's this attitude that you should be able to do something without putting any effort into it. And that is the mark of like a true genius or someone who's pro or whatever. And so people often feel that if they're having to put effort into something, they are doing it wrong. And so you see this often a lot in schools and university and stuff, where people will feel that, when I study for my exam, when I'm trying to write an essay, when I'm trying to learn this language or learning to code, it feels so effortful, therefore I must be stupid. The fact that I'm working so hard to do this thing means I must not be very good at the thing, and therefore I am dumb. That's generally the fixed mindset approach to life, which is obviously total BS. And what Carol Dweck tells us in Mindset, and she cites loads of evidence that shows that actually everything in life takes a large amount of effort. Even the geniuses, especially the geniuses, they were putting in so much effort that you just don't hear about or you don't see, because it doesn't make for an interesting story. Isaac Newton, apple fell on his head, he discovered gravity, whatever, that's the story that we hear about. But there are a zillion other experiments that he tried to do. He tried to dabble with astrology. He did like so much stuff, and most of it is relegated to like the discard pile, because it's only the successes that we actually care about. And so what she tries to encourage us in the book, which I think is very good, is to reframe the idea of effort. Putting in effort is not a bad thing. We have to put in effort to get any kind of result. And especially when it comes to things like learning and studying, the more effort we're putting into it, the more our brains are having to work, the more likely that information is to stick. It would be like going to the gym and saying, yeah, lifting weights should feel effortless. Well, if lifting weights feels effortless, then you're not going to get any gains, because it's only when you put effort into it and when it starts to get hard, that's when you get the stimulus for muscle growth. I had a really good illustration of this the other day. So I thought I was very growth mindset-y, and I, obviously value effort and all that kind of stuff. But I was having a chat with the marketing director of this big software company that I really like. And he was we were talking about some of the challenges around running a business and managing a team. And the thing that really surprised me about what he said is that I feel like I really struggle to have difficult conversations with my team members when it comes to things like I don't know, salary and expectations and performance and stuff. And I thought that the marker for a good manager is someone who can have those conversations effortlessly. Like, that was just my default way of thinking. Then I was speaking to this marketing director guy, and I asked him, what are his tips for having these sorts of difficult conversations? And he said, my tip is to spend about 2 or 3 hours preparing for each one and taking copious notes and figuring out exactly what you want to say, figuring out what they might say, figuring out what they want, and just like doing loads and loads of preparation. And that was really surprising for me, because it was like, damn, this guy with 10 years of experience, he's putting in effort to prepare for these conversations. And I realized that I'd been approaching it with a kind of fixed mindset. And in a way, I was thinking that I wasn't a good manager because this thing did not come to me effortlessly, when in fact, the answer is I was not a good manager because I didn't put effort into the thing. All right, key point number 3 is all about...
Okay, there's 2 points already here. I think because I didn't pause on the growth mindset, because I think that already hit me, I think 1 year back. I think the me starting to put more serious effort on this YouTube channel included, right, among other stuff, is part of some realization, including those things, right? So meaning that I'm not good with people. I'm not a good orator. I'm not good speaking with people. I'm not a good communicator. I'm so lousy at many of those things. Obviously, previously, the default would see, why would I want to even start a YouTube channel or post my videos to be humiliated, by showing all those weaknesses out, right? But I realized, of course, firstly, based on faith and testimony, books like this, even though I don't read books, but I heard about it. It's basically based on faith. I think that's good. I should try it. But I think when I go through the process itself, then I become much more convinced when I realize that the most benefit of this is to me, right? Because who cares? If even if I myself look at the early videos, even recently, right, it's still cringy. It's still like severe lack of skills, communication, etc. But if you look at periodically after 6 months, and then after 6 months, I can see significant improvement. It's not yet at the level of mastery, but there's growth there, obvious growth there, and I'm the one that benefits from it, because that becomes the skill that I have acquired so far, right? So those kind of things, I think that because the mindset that prevent me previously is more of concerning what others would say to me, and those comments are there. Some of my videos says there's some people that straight away comment, why would you even post this video when you are such a lousy communicator, something along that line, right? But when you have learned to ignore those things, because I'm doing this not to show that I'm good, I'm doing this because at the end of the day I'm becoming better. So if no one want to watch it, I'm not losing anything. But if it becomes secondary, because primarily the process helped me. If anyone find what I say or the way what I say, they want to hear more, that's perhaps an indicator that I have become better than previously. If no one even want to even watch anymore, then it means that I have to further improve, further find the next level of growth. But the fact of the matter is, the journey is a necessity for that improvement, right? So, but the second one about effort, right? I think when he talked about the story about why we perceive as if geniuses do not have to work to achieve what they achieve, right? That makes me remember when I was smaller. I was kind of good student. Generally speaking, I get quite a decent grade. But I never show my effort in studying. Normally I lock myself in, the class and the library, etc., stay all night, studying, etc., and then I just go back to rest. And when in my family, right, there's a younger ones, when for example my parents says, why are you playing games all night or whatever, you should, you should focus on your study like your brother, your older brother, right? But their response is quite interesting. That guy, he is a genius, or he has the brain, he doesn't need to do anything, he get good grades. Why does he get that perception? Is because the only time he sees me at home, I'm just resting by, including playing games or whatever. That's the only thing that he can see me, and then suddenly he also see that I get good grades. So the logic that he makes is that this guy, he doesn't need to put in any effort, he will get it anyway, right? He doesn't realize that behind closed door I spend hours and hours on my own studying and whatever, right? So realizing that, it is interesting, because those stories behind success, I think is crucial to break down those mindset that is, holding many people back, because they only see the success, they do not see the behind the success.
About seeing the opportunity in failure. Again, this is one of those standard things that's become such a common part of mainstream self-help advice, that obviously if you fail at something, then you should see it as a learning opportunity rather than seeing it as failure. I think this is all well and good. Like when I fail at something, if, I don't know, a girl rejects me, or if like a video does badly, or if we launch a product and it doesn't do so well, that still feels pretty bad, even though in my head, like logically, I have like the symphony of voices telling me to reframe failure as opportunity, all that fun stuff. But it is always a useful thing to remember that that is a thing. And yes, I've failed at lots of things over the years. I've got a video over there that talks about all the various different ways I've failed at various different things. But I've always been happy that I failed at those things in the long run. And so now, if I have, stuff that doesn't do so well, I do try my best to convince myself that actually, this is a learning opportunity. What is the lesson I can learn from this? And I found that like keeping a journal, I'd like to journal in the journaling app at Day One. It's very good. Link in the video description if you want to check it out. I find that keeping a journal of that does actually help, because then if I do fail at something, I think, okay, what can I do next time? And once I've figured out what lessons I'm going to take away from the failure, it's become a learning opportunity, and then I find that I dwell on the failure a lot less than I would if I don't do the reflection exercise. Key point number 4 is the idea that progress beats perfection. And I think this is really nice. Like whenever we're starting anything, like especially if you've had any amount of success in the past, it's very easy to develop this sort of disease of perfectionism, that this next thing that I do has to be good. And I see it a lot with students of the Part-Time YouTuber Academy, which is the online course that I'm running. We're in the middle of the 3rd cohort at the moment, and it's going pretty well. We get a lot of students who've been like really successful running their own businesses, or really successful in their corporate jobs or whatever, who are then deciding to start YouTube channels or to take their YouTube channels more seriously. And a huge majority of them suffer from this disease of perfectionism, that, I am objectively good at this other aspect of my life, like my work or my business, therefore I want to be objectively good at this YouTube thing. And it's so hard to make any progress if you've got this attitude of wanting things to actually be good or to actually be perfect. And given the amount of different skills it takes to make a decent YouTube video and to run a successful YouTube channel and all that stuff, I think it's basically impossible to succeed at it if you have this idea that you want your videos to actually be good at the start. And so the thing we always tell our students is that focus on the quantity to begin with, focus on making progress, focus on putting out 1 video a week, 2 videos a week. And after you've made 50 to 100 videos, at that point you can start worrying about making those videos good, because quantity leads to quality, and progress is more important than perfection. By the way,
I remember this when I started. That's the idea, right? I have several ideas. I want to make videos about this, and this, and this is such a brilliant idea that I have, that it should come up in such a perfect way, impactful way, etc. There's 2 things, right? That's one thing, meaning that expectation on that level of quality. And second, I want, when it comes, because it's so high quality, I want already available audience, right? So this will be only produced when there's like I have like 1K subscriber, for example, right? That's the command of mindset that I realized I had in the beginning, but that will make it meaning I will just be stuck there, because some people end up like asking and begging for subscriber when they do not even put out anything yet, which is quite interesting. But I do understand, because I do have certain similar mindset before, right? And then I realized that, because when I look at those successful people, and I found the earlier videos, etc., then I see that, wait a minute, that's the path towards that mastery actually is a long one, it's a gradual one, and it's the process itself, and the progress that it makes over time, right? So only when those are no longer the concern, right? You have to produce, go to the next one, produce, and then that process in itself leads you to a better whatever, right? Editor, whatever, in terms of storytelling, have more structure or whatever, right? I'm still very much lousy in most aspect in production or in storytelling, etc. I know that, but I do not reach to this level of novice or something without starting at the ground zero, right? And there's a long way to go, but to reach there, it starts from producing from zero until you learn stuff and you realize, oh, okay, and then and move forward, right? So this is very true. The thing is, I haven't applied these kind of things in all aspects of my life yet, right? So
if you enjoy getting distillations and summaries and highlights of non-fiction books and not having to read them yourself, you should check out short form. Short form is my favorite way of reading summaries of books. It's not a replacement for reading the books themselves, but usually I will either read a book first and then read the summary afterwards, or read the summary first, and if I like the summary, then I'll read the book. It's really good. They're not sponsoring the video, but there is an affiliate link in the video description if you want to check it out. It's like $9 a month, and it's totally worth it because you can get all of the insights from the book summarized so that you can read those in like a fraction of the time it will take you to read the book. And then you can decide if you actually want to read the book. I would recommend the book. The book is pretty solid as well. I'll put an Amazon link in the video description. And finally, key point number 5 that I've taken away from the book is that the whole growth mindset thing is a gradual journey. It's not something that will just happen overnight. I still think I have a fixed mindset in some areas of my life. This thing about being a manager, this thing about being a leader. I probably have a little bit more of a fixed mindset in my life when it comes to things like relationships and health and stuff like that. It's stuff that I'm working on. I think I'm pretty good at having a growth mindset in like stuff related to the business or content or coding or the other various things. I do music as well. But I do still have a fixed mindset in some aspects. But she talks in the book about how this is all really an ongoing journey. It's a gradual journey of discovery, and we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much if we can't switch overnight from fixed mindset through to growth mindset in every different area of life. If you like the video and you want to embrace the idea of a growth mindset even further, you should definitely check out this video over here, which is a recent video I've done about how to learn anything faster. That is kind of about how we can apply the growth mindset and apply kind of principles, tools, and hacks from all the scientific research around how to learn faster so that we can learn stuff better and we can growth mindset our way to infinity and beyond, or something like that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you aren't already, and I'll see you in the next video.
Alright, that's a good video. A reminder of things that some of the things I already know or heard of. Is just that a reminder that, okay, there are certain things that I haven't applied yet or applied to the fullest yet, right? So what do you think? Which of the 5 points that you have already applied and which you have not, and which you haven't even heard of before, if any, right? Let's grow together and share your stories. Yeah, I'm just having a vision that hopefully 1 year from now, looking back at this time, I'm glad that I have applied what I know now. That means I have to apply it so that 1 year from now, I'm already accumulating those growths, inshallah. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. See you next time.